What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Between Thoughts. This is your host, Jonathan, and this is a podcast where we overthink life so you don't have to. Or more realistically speaking, where we all overthink together. You know what's funny about life? Nobody gives you a manual, but somehow everybody gives you instructions. Your parents have instructions. Your relatives have instructions. Your teachers have instructions. Your friends have instructions. Even that random uncle you meet once every 5 years at a random wedding, he too has instructions. Jonathan, the last time I saw you, you were such a small kid. You've grown up so much. So tell me, what are you doing with your life? Me, literally there. Like, so I was just eating biryani 5 minutes ago. I didn't expect an existential interview. And the funny thing is, these expectations start so early in life. When you're a kid, people ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? Doctor, engineer, pilot, maybe? Nobody ever says, I want to be emotionally stable and sleep 8 hours a night. Because apparently, that's not an acceptable career path. But as we grow older, we slowly realize something strange. A lot of pressure we carry, a lot of anxieties we carry, comes from expectations we never actually chose. Expectations that were handed to us like a heavy backpack we didn't pack. And today's episode is exactly about that. Today, we are talking about the invisible weight of expectations, the ones we inherited, absorbed, and sometimes quietly suffer. So grab a coffee or a tea. And if you're like me, this might be the third cup of coffee, and you promise yourself that you wouldn't drink, but you're still gonna do it anyway. So grab it. Let's get going. Imagine this, you're walking through life with a backpack. At first, it feels light, but slowly, things start getting added to it. Your parents add something, be successful. Society adds something, don't fail. Your relatives add something, make us proud. Your friends add something, come on, dude, be cool. Your culture adds something, follow the path. And before you know it, you're walking around with a 40 kg emotional backpack, wondering why life feels so exhausting. The problem isn't responsibility. Responsibility is healthy. The problem is unquestioned expectations. Expectations that we never paused to ask, do I actually want this? I once knew a guy and he was studying engineering. A smart guy, brilliant actually. But he hated engineering, hated it. Every morning he looked like he was attending his own funeral. One day I asked him, why don't you switch courses? He said something that stuck with me. He said, my dad always wanted to be an engineer. He couldn't become one, so I'm finishing his dream of becoming one. And in that moment, it hit me. Sometimes we are not living our dreams, we are continuing someone else's unfinished story. And that's a heavy weight to carry, a heavy burden to carry. But here's the tricky part, most of the time, nobody is forcing us anymore. Yet we still carry the pressure. Why? Because expectation slowly becomes internal voices. At some point in life, the external voices disappear, but the internal voices remains. You know that voice, it says something like, you're behind in life, you should be doing more, you should be successful by now, you should have figured it out. Who decided these timelines? Because according to the internet, at 22, you are supposed to build a startup. At 25, you are supposed to be financially independent. At 28, you should own a property. And by 30, you should have figured out the meaning of life. Meanwhile, most of us at 28 are still trying to figure out how taxes work. Life isn't a race, but society keeps handing out stopwatches. If you are from an South Asian household, you already know this one. You already know this one. You attend a wedding, everything is going well. Good food, good music. Then suddenly someone asks, "So, beta, when is your turn?" என்ன மாப்பிள்ள எப்போ அடுத்தது நீ தானே? Ah, yes. That's the most dangerous question in human history. It's funny how people treat life like a checklist: study, job, marriage, kids. But life is not an IKEA furniture. You can't just follow instructions and expect everything to fit perfectly. And here's where the real problem begins. We start performing life instead of living it. A lot of us are not living authentically. We are performing roles: the good child, the successful professional, the responsible sibling, the perfect friend. And performances are exhausting because you constantly ask yourself, "Am I meeting expectations?" instead of asking, "Am I actually happy?" I remember hearing about a guy who worked in my previous firm, great salary, great title, everyone admired him. But one day he quit. We were all shocked. "Why would you leave such a stable job?" is what I asked him. And his reply was something powerful. He said, and I quote, "I realized I was successful at a life I didn't want." Unquote. Let that sink in. Successful at a life you didn't want. That's one of the quiet tragedies of adulthood. So the question becomes, how do we remove this mask? How do we stop living inside expectations we never chose? The first step is awareness. You have to ask yourself, what expectations am I carrying right now? Some of them might be useful, but some of them might just be noise. Questions that are worth asking are: did I choose this path, or did I inherit it? Am I doing this out of passion, or is it out of fear, or is it me trying to disappoint someone? And here's the uncomfortable truth: sometimes people will be disappointed, but disappointing others is not the same as failing at life. Sometimes it's the beginning of finally living honestly. A friend of mine loved painting, and her family wanted her to pursue a stable career. So she spent years doing something she didn't enjoy. One day she finally started painting again. Not full time, just the evenings, over the weekends. But something changed. She became alive, or as she said, she felt alive. And that's the thing. When you move even 1 inch closer to your authentic self, life starts feeling lighter. Because the moment you question expectations, you start reclaiming something powerful: autonomy, the freedom to choose your life. Not recklessly, not irresponsibly, not consciously. It doesn't mean rejecting everything society expects. It means deciding which expectations are actually yours. Because some expectations are valuable. For example, hard work, integrity, kindness, meekness, humbleness. But others, they are just inherited scripts. And scripts, as you know, can be rewritten. At the beginning of this episode, we talked about the invisible backpack we all carry: expectation, pressure, inherited dreams. But here's the hopeful part: you are allowed to open the backpack, you are allowed to remove things, you are allowed to ask, is this even necessary? Is this even mine? Because life is already difficult. We don't need to carry weights that were never even ours. And maybe the real goal in life isn't to meet every expectation. Maybe it's to slowly uncover the person beneath them, the real you, the curious you, the authentic you, the one that existed before the world told you who you should be. And that's the thought I want to leave you with today. Thank you for listening to Between Thoughts. If this episode made you reflect on something, or maybe question a few expectations in your own life, then this conversation was worth it. And if you enjoyed the episode, share it with someone who might also be carrying a heavy, invisible backpack. So until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and stay between thoughts.